Welcome to the Devil Fruit Podcast. My name.
I just saw like a spirit bomb being collected in front of you before you started that. In fact, I think I need to take another sip of my little cocktail here because I think I gave some energy up.
My name is Jacob.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Ethan.
And apparently I wasn't invited to the cocktail party because both of these boys are sitting here sipping cocktails.
Yeah, what do you got over there, Joe?
Oh, mine's super simple right now. I just got a little Bacardi and some strawberry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this the Bartender Podcast? No, this is the Anime Podcast.
All I'm saying is we could morph.
I just got some rum and pineapple juice over here. Thanks for asking.
Okay,
Ooh,
so
rum and pineapple. I like. Is it coconut rum?
Oh my god!
No, it's just that
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Well,
today,
sometime.
I want to restart all of this. The intro has gone by so slow on this one.
Well, we'll get right into it now.
Oh,
I think
so. Today,
everyone might need a cocktail after these 5 episodes.
Today, I don't know what he means by that. Today, we're talking about Violet Evergarden episodes 5 through 9. I think this is a really good chunk of episodes.
This felt like a full arc, actually.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
This is definitely like included in this is the part that I love the most. Which we'll get to because it's a little bit towards the back end. But I mean, out the gate, with the first couple episodes, like with the princess, and then with going to the big like astronomy building and all that. How are we feeling?
Well, can you guys, before we get into that, can you answer me this question, or maybe this is never explained, but did I miss something in understanding why writing is such a, commodity in this world? As a skill?
I don't know if it's, explicitly explained, but, I mean, being an era before, anything like phones or internet or anything, I feel like letters just used to be a lot more important. I guess is how I would think about it.
And it's easy to accept. It just kind of feels like there was one event that happened, and maybe it was this war that just made this a parallel universe instead of our world. If that makes sense.
I
think
the
language is different, the writing is different, and the technology is obviously different.
Yeah, I think there was something about the war affecting things. But there were few people who already were educated enough to write, and then the war came, and then it was even fewer.
Sure.
Kind of a thing. But yeah, so far I think the show is just its own kind of amalgamation of different time periods. It's
right.
It's kind of almost biblical times where only the most educated people can write, but then it's also kind of like World War II.
World War One, yeah.
Or World War One-ish
and
stuff. So it's its own world.
And I definitely think that I think in just the narrative, I think a lot of the characters that are specifically in the show, I think just take a lot of give a lot of power to writing, I think is also it. Because I'm sure that well, I guess I can't say that because then the princess and prince episode kind of made it feel like people are really into fucking letters. At least in the 2 countries where that prince and princess were from, they really fucking liked letters. But I think it just chalks up to just what can be taken as communication and entertainment for the time, I guess.
Yeah. And we can dive more into the
princess
princess later, but first things first was the episode 5 with
the prince and the princess.
Oh, that was the prince and the princess.
Oh
so
no!
terrible. I have my notes up, but I'm just
that was like you
them.
explicitly sent us a text about it too.
Yeah,
like,
Joe,
you were
know your thoughts first.
Yeah, no, that was I watched episode 5 and I was like, okay, yeah, we were going somewhere because I had my first I okay.
Oh,
tears did not fall,
but you were close.
But like, dude, I
really though. This is I'm actually really curious to hear how this connected for you.
I like there's later episodes like I think 7 that actually like maybe hit me more, but for some reason when at the end of the episode when when the princess is just about to like get married and she's in her dress and she's having her like final conversation with her caretaker.
Yeah.
And she's like begging her like, please just don't leave, like all I want is to be with you and stuff, and the caretaker just like knows that she has to be strong and help her be happy in this moment and in this day, but also can't lie to her and tell her that she will be with her for forever because like that's not fair. And so she chooses to say, I wrote it down. She says, like, she pauses, and the caretaker puts a flower in her hair and says, I wish you happiness. And just like, I was laying in my chair. I was like laying in my chair. I had my feet up. I was all slouched, like in a just ugly position. And like, but I got shivers like all the way down my body. And I got a lump in my throat and my eyes like literally like welled up. Like I felt the tears come. And it was weird. It was wild. Like of all the things to hit me, I don't know if it was just something about it, like just the conflict of like not knowing what to say but still wanting to support somebody. I don't know, but that one hit me like all at once. I had like all these bodily reactions to just being like touched, and I was just like, oh my gosh. That was the first one that really hit me.
I welled up a little bit when I welled up a little bit when she bowed for the caretaker and like put her hand on her head.
Yeah.
It hit me a little bit.
Everything in that whole interaction was so well done.
I really like that episode because of everything being around the theme of love in this specific situation. I think was so interesting because it brings up a lot of things. It brings up the whole idea in certain cultures or in just like certain time periods about like, marriages that are put together not necessarily for love, but for political reason. And obviously we learn later in the episode that she was the one that like implemented it because she does love him, which is great. But obviously there's a lot of stuff that's, not like that. And it's just blatantly for a statement to be made for a country or things like that.
Yeah, like alliances.
Right. And just talking about that and then talking about how I really like how they kind of pulled apart the whole like writing being the ultimate thing in this episode too, because they started with both of them hiring dolls to speak to each other, basically only to appease the public and make them feel like they're getting caught up in this whole romance between this prince and princess. But but then the princess is getting so frustrated because she knows that she's not actually saying what she feels and that he's not actually saying what he feels, and how they like break that down, and then Violet gets the idea to be like, no, you know what? We're going to make sure that you two actually start to say what you're actually saying instead of just trying to appease people around you.
Mm-hmm.
I
broke the equation that I was complaining about the entire first episode that we recorded.
Right.
That's another thing. Yeah, this whole couple episodes here, they
very different.
Brought up writing in ways that I did not expect them to.
Yeah, they broke the mold.
Every episode I watched this arc just made me more appreciative of the show. It went to a totally different direction. I thought this was going to be like a casual watch and like every episode has a clear like start and finish, a nice wrapped up ending, and like
I told
like
you,
it
man.
like yeah,
No.
it was always like deep to a certain level, but it really showed off what a show like this could do, I think, in this chunk, and
Mhm.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
Everything pre OVA to me kind of feels like the beta test for this show. Like it was like
Yeah.
really concise, tight stories, and then it seems like they like, you know, decided, hey, I don't know if they got a bunch of money. I don't know if someone that was really high up at Netflix was like, hey, this show's good. They got a bunch of money. They made an OVA probably later on, but
Yeah,
whatever.
the OVA came
then-
out after the show was done. Yeah.
Mm.
Decided to stick it here because this is when the show really takes off.
Mm.
This is when they start eating their Wheaties.
Eating their Wheaties.
Eating their Wheaties.
Yeah.
And you know what,
Like-
if I may bring up, you know what really blows my mind about this show is that, so you know how almost every anime is based off of something. Either, there's a lot of anime based off of manga, there's a lot of anime based off of books, there's a lot of anime based off of light novels or video games. And this show is based off of a light novel, which I think is really intriguing. Because, again, talking about, culturally what I think a lot of romantic or sexual things are in this medium. Light novels are generally pretty sexual.
Yeah.
You know,
Can
I
you
think that's an
describe- can you guys-
understatement.
Can you describe what a light novel is?
I might be wrong. I'm not super educated on this, but from what I understand, light novels are essentially like dating sims. Am I incorrect in saying that, Joe? I feel like that's kind of what it is.
I mean, they're very, very often
Yeah, like
dating
dating
simulator.
sims.
But what it is like, picture like a really old school computer game where you're clicking through dialogue and then eventually a choice comes up and you
Right.
click your reply to the person, this answer or this answer, and then based
Okay.
on that it changes the way the story goes.
So
So
it's
it's like
dating.
a-
So every dating sim is a light novel, but not every light novel is a dating sim.
I think that's a good yeah. I would
Okay.
agree to that. I would agree to that.
Okay. So yeah,
yeah.
I said, being again, like I guess ultimately I don't know how the Violet Evergarden light novel is. I'm kind of curious to look into it. But just again, coming from a medium that I think generally does go into a very sexual place, at least from my outward experience, seeing stuff like that appear, or like the little bits of like what I've seen around or whatever.
Mhm.
How like this show is so not that, like so not that.
Yeah. Here's like Ethan, like remember Science Fell in Love, so I tried to prove it. How the one character loved that anime girl figure,
Yeah.
and he played the computer games where he like talked to her kind of almost.
Yeah.
Those would be, well, I mean, yeah, they're dating sims, but I would classify those as like that's
That's a light.
a good idea of what a light novel is. Like
Yeah.
there's always
Okay.
a little character on screen and then a lot of dialogue.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I agree with you guys. Yeah, the way that they break up the concepts of writing and the concepts of love, I think they've kept it very different every single experience that she has. Because then I think going from the Prince and Princess episode, which I really like a lot.
I really liked it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like how much depth there was and how much like things were like changing as things were progressing. Because you really get a feeling that at first you thought it's like, oh, this princess is being involved in marriage that she doesn't want to be a part of, and that's where she's upset. And then it turns out no, actually it's the complete flip side where she's worried that he's not into it, and then that's a whole thing. I don't know. Yeah, it's a very enjoyable episode.
And it twists multiple times, even just within them actually writing letters to each other, and you're listening to their replies, and you're like, oh, they like each other, and then you're like, are they annoyed at each other? And then you're like, no, they like each other again, and then it's like, meet me in the garden in the moonlight, and it's like,
right.
oh,
Right, and again, like conveying that it's like the concept of trying to convey love isn't all about just like well written pretty words for some people, right? Because that's ultimately what this episode ended up being about, is that all this well written romantic poetic stuff didn't fucking mean anything to them. What really meant something to them was just being genuine.
And she says at one point in her letters that because he keeps trying to tell her that he's not the best man for her. And I think she says, like right on the nose, what the whole episode was trying to get at was that she says the only thing I value in a man is honesty.
Right.
Yeah. And that was really what the whole thing was about, is just being honest and genuine.
Yeah. Like she gets irked and she's like, you keep saying you're not the best man for me. And then she says, what is the best man? Cause
right.
Yeah. She's like, well, define that, because I think you're great. Everybody thinks you're great except you. Like I don't understand.
Right, and she also pointed out that you're the only man that has ever come up to me and said that you're not the best man for me. You know, again, that kind of thing too. And then you get a very different feeling from this observatory episode. You know, where.
This is the one I enjoyed a little bit more.
I do really enjoy this episode. I think because of, again, I think it's a very weird, like, specific concept of love that's like not a more general idea in this episode.
Yeah. Real quick.
You have something to say, Joe?
Well, what you got, Joe?
I'm excited to talk about episode 6, but at the end of episode 5,
yes,
talk about like a cliffhanger. Like she's stepping off the boat.
Oh yeah.
and the one guy is there.
She runs into the brother. She runs into the brother of the major.
And he's just like, I heard you were a doll and all this, and he's like, those same hands bringing people together that like just killed so many, and I was just like, oh, whoa, oh. And then it showed her as like a little kid just slaughtering people on a ship, and then the episode ends, and I was like, what the, whoa, shit.
Yeah,
I just had a nice tale of a prince and a princess coming together, and then it's just like murder on a boat.
He's such a fucking dickhead. I hate that guy so much. God, he's the worst.
He's just angry. He's angry about
something else we should mention from that episode, I think right before that scene, was that, I think I'm thinking about the right thing. She's standing there before she's about to leave the princess's domain. And we see her smile, I think for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, she said when she says it's a beautiful day to have a wedding.
Yeah. And that was again something that I was, like you guys heard me say in the last episode, something that I wanted to see with those really small developments in her character.
Yeah.
And starting to like crack the mold.
Yeah.
And she's starting to really, at this point, she's starting to really like emote for others. And she's gotten to that point. And then, as we're going to talk about later, then she starts to finally go inward.
Also, like, I didn't realize that she was basically 14.
No, she's very young. Yeah,
like, I didn't realize that. I thought she was like a young woman now, and like I thought she was like a young teenager when she first met the major.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly how old she was. I thought she was like 16, but yeah, no, she's very, very young.
She's young.
And and talking about how we brought up that we felt like the relationship between the major and her wasn't like a romantic or sexual relationship. Like when he said I love you, it didn't really feel like that. And I feel like that was only like pushed further in the flashbacks that we get between him and her, where it feels very much like he was trying to guard a child. Like
it was a family kind of love.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
like
again,
I saw her in tattered clothes and was like, I want to buy her a dress.
Right.
Like I want to like.
Which again, I think a lot of anime would have gone in the
complete
other direction with that and made it really fucking weird. And because of how they play this, it's not like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah.
Anyway, episode 6.
Episode 6. I really like this episode as well. Not only because I just think it's like a really interesting location and like an interesting like reason for dolls to show up. Because again, like I like that, you know, they have their job, but then like something like this popped up and they're like, oh, we need extra manpower. Who? Like, what group? Like, what company could we go to that has a bunch of people that can write really well? Oh, go to something like this. I think that's really cool. I like that she also shows up and we get an inclusion of those other dolls that were at the school as well. I think that's fun. Just a nice little like. No, they didn't like do anything. They didn't like do anything like ultra crazy or they weren't like super involved. But I just like that they were there because I like the inclusion. That small world feel.
It's like a comedian's technique of bringing back a joke, like part way through the set. And then like repeating it is it's really well done.
It's just good storytelling. Making sure that small characters still like exist in the world and like it's because that's it's like real life. There's people that you talk to all the time and you're meeting all the time, and then there's people that you only run into fucking once a year sometimes, and that's just how it is. So I just like stuff like that. But going into the more like of the meat of this episode is basically there's this fucking guy who works at this observatory who I mean apparently he's like fucking essentially lived there for like half his life. And he's got this like predisposed feeling about like auto memory dolls that they're just fucking girls trying to get hitched by rich men, and he's got this like thing about them where he's like he's got a stigma about like no, they're just fucking doing all this shit for money and all this stuff, and I don't like it. And of course, what better doll to get hooked up with than Violet Evergarden to make him rethink all of it? I like the scene of him trying to make her upset by reading out the old books too fast for her to scribe, but then she's so good at scribing that she's like literally, I love how they did it a couple of times where like the first time he stops reading it takes her like another second and then she's done and he's like, oh shit, okay. And then he fucking starts to read faster, and then the second time he stops, she stops like right with him. It's so funny.
And then she even says, she's like, you stopped again.
Yeah. She's like, I'm ready to keep going if you want.
Yeah, like why?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, you did 3 days worth of work in one day.
140 pages.
Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I like the fun. I like that. That was like fun little like just funny moment.
I really liked because my first note at the end of this episode was I got shivers again at the end. But all of that is because of the build up and everything. Like this boy, he felt abandoned by his mother who went to go look for his dad who went missing during the war, and she like he felt like she loved him more than she felt like she loved her dad, his dad, more than him, and so he was just like he was jaded, and then he went to go live at this place, and everybody like didn't get along with him, so everybody was like, oh yeah, he's just a prick, he's really hard to get along with, and nobody likes him, and he's good at his work, so that just makes it all worse, and all this stuff and she like not even knowing that he's overhearing the conversation in the library, all these guys are telling Violet these things, and she's just like, well, I'm an orphan too. I think he's pretty good at his job. I'm just telling you the truth. That's it. Like,
just like my favorite is her last statement where she's basically like, if you're not going to even try to understand him, then you're coming from a very closed off background, basically.
Yeah. Or she says something about like, well, you're not going to get along with me either.
Right.
Kind of a thing. And I was just like, way to go.
Yeah, way to go. But also like, and I think it's very true. I think there's a lot of situations like that. Just people judge people before they want to understand,
Oh yeah. Amen.
Yeah. And she's also never apologetic about it.
No, because she shouldn't
like when she sees him afterwards, and she knows, she's smart enough to know that he overheard.
Yeah, once he comes down the ladder. Yeah, exactly.
And she never brings it up because she doesn't need to feel bad about what she said. It was the truth. It's her honest opinion. Like,
Right.
and to her, it's just like,
Right, absolutely.
I don't know. I like that. I like that aspect of that too.
Yeah, and I just enjoy that, her type of disposition really helped him come out of that resentment, and what's up?
And he was able to connect with her story then too, because he
Right.
was like, "Oh shit," and I mean, also beyond that, like her story was kind of worse than his in a way. It's like when she was like, "I don't know my parents' faces," even.
Right.
And he was just like, "Oh, dang."
Right.
Like there's nothing better for building perspective than thinking that your life is shit and then hearing somebody else's story and being like, "Oh,
Right.
at least I have this, or at least I have like something that I can grasp onto." Like it's so important to hear other people's stories.
Right. And it helps you, I think ultimately the thing that this conveys to me, and I think is important for anyone, is that you need to, your own grief and trouble in your life is valid.
Yes.
But you can't let it keep you from progressing forward in life.
Which is just the main theme of this episode. It is so beautiful.
Right.
Dude, I got such shivers. I had such shivers at the end when he's all calling after her, when she's riding away on the gondola and stuff, and he's talking about how he's like admitting to the world, but also to himself in that moment that he was waiting at this observatory. He was waiting for his mom to come home someday, but deep down, like knowing that she was just not gonna after a little while, and he was admitting that he had become complacent, and he was in a way, quote unquote, kind of comfortable there. Like he'd been in a standstill, and he needed to move because he was realizing that he wasn't moving, and now because of that he was losing Violet, and felt attached to her, but at the same time he wasn't heartbroken per se. He was now determined to not let himself lose something again, and it highlights the importance of moving.
Right.
And taking action, and that's a message that I relate to a lot. I think I've told you guys this before. Like it's a very different kind of show, but it has a similar message to that, which is I think I
Dragon Ball Z.
No. No. This was like one of the first like romantic animes that I ever watched. That was like that I like really really liked on a lot of levels.
Rosario Vampire.
No, come on, let me.
Okay.
It's called My Teacher, and
that name makes me uncomfortable.
I know, and it's one of those shows where it does take a lot of turns that would be very different from Violet Evergarden, but there is a central theme in that show that kind of goes deeper than all of the surface level fan service whatnot. Like it talks about moving and not standing still. Like the main character has this whole like he has a medical issue where he goes into a coma if he gets like too stressed and stuff about standing still, and almost at the end of every episode he talks about like and this lesson helped me move and sort of a thing, and it's such an important message for so many people.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think also, I think a lot of these experiences shows one person can really make an impact on someone.
Yes.
Sometimes there are human beings that just are in a place in their life where they just need someone to fucking listen, or they just need someone to say the right thing, and you get so complacent, and there's definitely a level of like you need to find a way to self-motivate, but I also recognize how difficult that can be, and sometimes human beings.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, when you're in a place like that, just getting one person to say something that you didn't expect them to say to you or anything like that, it makes a huge fucking difference. It can take you out of a hole like that, at least for a little while. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Because
think
if you're
also
standing
seeing in that
still,
episode,
oh,
it was also kind of a statement on like a lot of these guys that were doing the same job as this guy that we were following. I forget what his name was.
Yeah.
I think it was Leon or something. A lot of the guys were there. They were doing the work, but their focus was on trying to hook up with these girls that they were paired up with,
Right.
and like it was this kind of like fraternity kind of feel going
Yeah.
on.
Very fratty. Yeah.
And I think that him being with this girl who is clearly like passionate about her work, but also has this kind of like spotted past and has these desires and dreams that she kind of explains to him
Right.
throughout the episode, where she has a real passion for what she's doing, for like where she's trying to get to, and then realizing that like the reason that he started all this or wanted to continue on to do his traveling was because that was his passion.
Right.
And all these other people just haven't found that or aren't focused on trying to find something like that. These kind of like frat dudes, like especially that one guy that he's just completely zoned out, and he's like, "Yeah, man,
Yeah, his friend.
she told me I think she thinks I'm cute and this and that."
It's like you only got 4 more days.
Yeah, and then you even see a clip of him at one point when they're like watching the comet come by of that guy, and he's like, standing 4 feet away from the girl as the comet's going by. They aren't talking.
Yeah.
But then then we cut back to our main character who is like, having like a real kind of like relationship.
Yeah, having like a
Violet,
like
even
a real
though it's
moment,
not. Yeah. It's not romantic necessarily. It's just kind of inspiring.
Yeah, but just wrapping a blanket around her and being like, "Hey, have some soup."
Sure.
And just like, just wholesome.
Right. No, it's wholesome, and I think he was growing an interest in her. I think that was definitely conveyed.
Yes.
But I think what I think is so interesting is how he was able to handle that. When she literally says, she's like, the major is the only reason that I'm doing anything. Right.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
and as soon as she says that, I think I like that. Thinking about it from his position, it's like in a way that was like him getting rejected, but at the same time, he was able to. It was like a very kind of like what we were talking about when Joe, when we were talking about the fucking. I know it was a wild sidetrack, but when we were talking about the Halo 3 ODST soundtrack. And
I was just about to say that too.
The same exact feeling that soundtrack conveys, which is that feeling of like you're sad, but you feel like it's okay to be sad. Like there's more to it,
Yeah.
And this
what
is like
soundtrack was this?
Halo 3 ODST, especially like the song Rain.
Like no, because she hit him with she basically hit him with the I have a boyfriend.
Right, that I'm in love with someone else,
Because
in the way that she communicates it, because even I think at that point she was like still not grasping that she actually did love him, like that was like the words that she needed to use.
But she said because he asked whether or not like if she was called away to go see him or something in their work, like what would she do? And she was like, it's not even a question.
Not even a question.
I would go. The only thing I would question is how I would try and apologize to you about like backing out of the work,
about leaving. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think again it's like at the same moment that he's essentially getting heartbroken a little bit, he's also getting inspired to do the work that he actually wanted to do.
Exactly.
Because he hits the moment of like
exactly.
Wow, wow, she really would drop everything and fucking die for what she wants.
Yeah.
And I've just been sitting here waiting for that to drop in my lap, and that's not good enough. Which, honest to God, dude, I relate to heavy. I really get that. I feel like I've been sitting around forever. And I think there's a lot to that.
Well,
there's a lot. To
I think I think that's how the majority of the workforce in our world feels.
Right. There's a whole lot of
that's
like there is a safety in complacency when you have a structured job that's not going to go away. And it almost sits in your head after a while like like it doesn't even matter if you don't like the work because at least you're good.
It's
right?
a means to an end.
Right. But ultimately, what are we as human beings if not for the things that we strive for? You know?
Oh, dude, this is just relating to so many things right now. I was literally like, I love that we're talking about this sort of thing because this is such an important message that I think needs to get out and stuff. But like, literally, not 2 hours ago, I was talking to my girlfriend's mom, and we were talking about how important it is to have just to have a job that helps you learn something, that to have a job that progresses you as a person, not just the company.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
100%. I'm sorry. I'm getting upset because my job doesn't do that for me. But like,
no,
100%.
Dude, I was talking to Mary, and I was like, yeah, dude. I mentioned you in this conversation. I was like, I know my buddy Jacob's feeling like this. I can't help but think that
definitely
my
don't want
girlfriend's feeling like this. Like,
definitely don't want to be like that guy.
Well, no, it's just it's very common thing.
Right. No,
and I think that this media helps people realize that sort of thing, or at least like starts the conversation.
Right.
And it's so important. Like I'm a guy of faith, and I think to a fault, I think that things are going to work out for me and for people in the end if you really open yourself up to doors. But, like, you have to take chances, and you have to be able to say, no, I want to do something that's going to help advance me.
Right.
And it's really important, and that's really what gave me shivers at the end when he was screaming at her on the
right, because he didn't get upset when she didn't reply on the last one because he knew it in his heart, and that's really the difference. And that's really the difference, you know.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Ethan? What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna interject there and say that I heard the term actually this week. The term is that don't be the guy who's rearranging the chairs in the Titanic.
Ooh.
Wow.
And I think that is kind of, that whatever the word is, that applies to this conversation.
That's a great metaphor. That's a great metaphor.
I can't believe I've never heard that before.
Yeah. But it's true, right?
Dang, that's good. Don't be the guy who's rearranging the chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we move into episode 7. Remind me which one this is, Joe.
This one, my first note says beautiful music. My second,
I think we could all agree that I think the full OST to this is really good.
Oh yeah,
it's very Fire Emblem-esque to me, having only played Three Houses.
So. Very much so. There's a lot of vibes. Yeah. So this one is when she's kind of coming to terms with the Major's death.
Oh, okay. So this is where this begins. Okay.
Well, no, because I think that's 8 and 9.
No. 7 was 7's the playwright.
Yeah.
Yes, because it says the theme. Because I wrote down theme of untimely death hit me.
Right.
Yes.
Dude,
this is the stage one.
Dude,
this one really got me.
Hurts, dude. This one
This was tough.
This one's really tough, and I do. Again, this is just the first thing that pops in my head because it's really early on. So essentially, she gets hired on to help a playwright write a new play, and he's like a very famous one. And she shows up, and it's very obvious that he's like depressed. He's an alcoholic. His fucking whole house is a mess, and he gives like no fucks. Like he's like it's like almost like how did he even end up hiring a doll in the first place? Like he's just so out of it. And but the first thing that pops in my head, again talking about Ethan, how you like to see like the small progression in her personality coming out. I really like that she's like trying to work with him, but he just keeps refusing to do things how they're supposed to be done, and she's like, this guy's really bothersome. Like it keeps, like she keeps saying it. She's like, man, I don't know.
You're being difficult.
You're being difficult. Like I just like shit like that because it's like you can tell that she like couldn't keep her composure professionally. She was like, I don't like this guy.
I should also interject here and say that I've really been enjoying the dub of this show.
I've been hopping back and forth.
I haven't listened to it.
In this one in particular, I noticed that there isn't a lot of the dialogue in this episode was either internal, or kind of between these action shots of like either some kind of B-roll or something, completely off camera or off the two characters here. And so they definitely didn't need to lip sync or anything very much.
Right.
And I feel like I really got that inner dialogue, and it might have just been because of the dub that it resonated with me more.
Okay.
In this episode, like I feel like the writing was very strong, and this episode was kind of a showcase of the things she's learned along the way. I don't think that she necessarily learned a lesson here as much as the writer in this episode learned something.
Right. But she's gotten to understand things better, right?
I'm sure that this was the kind of episode where this was kind of a cool idea to the writers of the show, like being writers of entertainment themselves. Like, what if we brought this person into our lives?
Right.
Which is a cool concept, and I don't think that it necessarily was a ton of character progression for Violet. But it was cool seeing her being in control for the first time.
Right.
Of the situation. Not that she wasn't in control with say the princess's episode, but
there's she saw his pain and she explicitly through the whole thing instead of maybe just at the end helped him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that this was certainly a different kind of we haven't seen her do this kind of writing before, as far as play direction.
Cook. She tried to cook for the
carbonara. She brought out the pasta. And we all stuck together like a big potato. But you know what? He ate it anyways, and he said, "You know what? It's not too bad for your first time." Yeah. Because ultimately, he is a nice man deep down. He just had issues.
The only thing that kind of bothers me about these kinds of episodes is that they can make it. They can cross those lines because it's animation, because they don't have to worry about the actors, but the dude's wife died, the dude's daughter died, the dude was an alcoholic, he was a mess in the vacation home that they used to go to as a family.
Right.
Yeah.
They really kicked a dead horse.
Yeah.
And to me, I feel that to a degree, but it was also man, they
it's a little Oscar baity.
They really went for it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
They really went. And they can cross the line where you're just emotionally you don't want to connect because it's so tough.
Yeah. No, I get that.
It's such a rough spot.
No, and I don't know. There's a lot about I really enjoy that he starts to kind of dissolve out of his shell that he's put in place, because as soon as he sees her, he's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
She looks like her. You know?
Yeah.
And that alone, he was trying to not let it get to him, but it just got to him. And because then she finds the MacGuffin. She found the parasol, and then it all.
Oh yeah, the parasol was the most eureka moment.
Yeah. Which and I do agree. I do agree, Ethan. There is a little bit of Oscar baitiness to this, but
yeah,
I do still really, really like it, and I do think it's funny to me that because I watched this show before I had ever experienced a really close death, I'd had things in my life where people had died that were in my family, or things that were I knew them but I didn't know them. And then watching it before versus now, I think is it's a very different feeling, I guess. Trying to, because you're watching this man try to live on, but he feels like he just can't. And there's so much suffering in that, and he's trying to finish that play essentially to release that emotion from himself so that he can move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get that. I get that a lot. I fully understand that. It's so tough
Oh man.
because so many things remind you, you know? It's like you want to just go forward with a day, but then just like in his scenario, like that parasol was there, but I'm sure he hasn't been looking at it in forever, and then she just happens to grab it, and suddenly it all just washes back in, to the point to where he gets upset with her, like he can't contain himself. He says, "Stop it," you know.
Yeah.
And there's days like that. I think I think it gets better, obviously, over time. But it's amazing how much that just can click back into place like that.
Oh yeah.
But then I love, what an amazing idea to have him write this play to not only convey these emotions to children, because that's, because he said it's a children's play, and not only to try to find a way to use that depth of his depression to find a way to convey something like that to kids, but then to also finish out his own story for his daughter and ultimately for himself, and how the metaphor of her crossing the water is him finally letting go of all that pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that piece was definitely loaded.
I think
that was her dream. That
right.
was his dream, to finish it, to give that to her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I gotta give credit where credit's due. Ethan, how you talked about that this could have been, in the last episode, how you were this could have been a live action show. And I do agree that it does have a different quality that I think, because I think anime, even on shows that aren't very action heavy or anything, they always seem to be very exaggerated and bombastic and bright and crazy, right? Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And this show feels so much more grounded, where you're totally right. This could have just been straight up live action. But then I think the strength of making it anime appears in the part where she does the jump across the water.
Yeah.
While I do think it was a little bit of a stretch of disbelief, because holy shit, she almost jumped the whole fucking thing. That part took me out a tiny bit, but taking away the little bit of goofiness of that, the visuals of that, I feel like it accentuated the emotional impact for him so much, and I don't think you could have done that in any other way than animation. I think
I agree to you. I think it's just that every time I end this show, I come out of my office and I'm I feel like I just watched an HBO Max show, like a drama,
right?
And I'm emotionally drained.
Oh, it is draining. It is.
And Kat will ask me questions about it.
Yeah.
How is the show? 'Cause she wants to always feel like she picked the best show ever.
I really think that I really do think that she should watch this show. I really do. I think she would like it.
I think everybody should watch this show now, if I'm being completely real.
Yeah. So,
but I gotta relate too.
Okay.
When she started jumping, there was an initial shot like an under camera facing up.
Yes.
Of her jumping and stuff. It was a power pose, very much a powerful shot kind of thing.
Right.
And I was into it. I was in the right mindset for where the show was going, and the importance of everything that was going on. But then that thing with her jumping with the parasol, I immediately thought of Princess Peach in Smash Bros. And I was just I snapped out of my emotions.
Oh my God.
I was just fuck. I was no.
That didn't come to my mind at all.
Dude,
yeah, it didn't come to my mind at all. But I like that. I do really like that her first statement after she hit the water was, I think I got 3 steps out of it.
Yeah.
I love that. But okay, so then she gets, so then at the end of this episode, moving into these last two, and to me, this is my absolute favorite part of the show. And to be fully honest with you, I can't fucking remember what happens after this. So I'm really curious what happens in the last portion of this show because I can't remember. But so she gets off the train. She happens to run into Lady Evergarden, who is the lady where she got her last name from because she was supposed to like stay there, but then she was like, no. So she like immediately is like, oh God, I'm so sorry. And she like gives that whole thing. But then, Lady Evergarden slips up and tells her that the Major's dead. And
well, she says, oh, you're doing so well. The Major would be proud. Now I bet he could rest in peace.
Yeah, and it's like
Violet goes, what?
Yeah, what? So then we move into this where she fucking just runs around. She runs up to the fucking the lieutenant corporal? No, the lieutenant commander? Shit.
I don't know, the redhead dude.
I'm so bad with military shit. So she goes up to him.
Lieutenant corporal.
Yeah, so she goes up to him and he I really like his character because I like that he's really trying to do the right thing, but he just doesn't know how.
Which is a very very real position that a lot of people find themselves in.
Right, and I like that. And that like what happens there, he's like, I just didn't know how to tell you, and then he just kind of lays it out, and he's like, what? Like, there's no point in holding it back now, you know. And she and I like this. This is just like again like where finally she goes like very internal, and she starts to struggle with the two big things. The Major is essentially dead. There's still a lot of conversation. Technically, there's still like a possibility of him being missing in action, but like essentially he's dead. Right. So she's dealing with the grief of the only person that's ever cared about her and the only person she loves. And then on top of that, she's also coming to terms with the pain that she must have caused people through all of the people that she's killed, which is another amazing thing that she took from. Actually, you want to talk about the one thing she learned from the writer is at the end when she's on the train, where she's like, you know, she's so happy that he was able to finish like her finish his daughter's dream. And then she had the moment of realizing and she says it, how many dreams have I crushed by killing people, right? And it slides back into
powerful.
Right, and it slides back into, you know, again the redhead guy saying at the top where he's like, no, you're burning, and she's like, no, I'm not, and he's like, no, you don't get it yet, but you're burning, and which, by the way, is that wording of that is like my favorite metaphor ever. Like, I don't know what it is about it, but the way that they always describe it as like you're burning all over your body. Like it's like this amazing way of visually explaining like the feeling of the pain and sin that they've done. Like I
think that same guy describes it really well when he, and I'm probably butchering exactly how it was written because it was beautifully done, but he says something along the lines of like, the hand that took so many lives is now the hand that's writing these letters and bringing people together.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says it as an insult, but I think that's also like a really beautiful thing.
It is. And that's
where she's kind of making up for those.
Yes.
Which ultimately, man, that's a great point. He was there to try to make her feel more pain, but ultimately he actually said the entire point of that whole little arc. Which, you're totally right, Ethan. Holy shit, that's actually amazing. I didn't even think about that.
That's didn't, awesome. Dude. That was like the whole thing. I know it's the whole
thing, but I just like the connection of like the fucking brother saying that as an insult, but it was actually the whole point. Like, I don't know, it just that part didn't click.
It's so well written, like, and like in these last two episodes, the show took this is where I was like, whoa, this show became something that I didn't think it was going to be.
Right.
Like all of a sudden it's a show highlighting the importance of your past actions don't have to define you. Like,
Right.
if you do something in the past, that doesn't mean you can't do something better or just good or just
Right.
fine in the
It
future.
it
It's
it
such a good
transcends
message.
it transcends the military context because
Yes.
it's I think it is a very good concept for I think people coming out of the military 100%, but it goes so far beyond that. Like it's genuinely like if you feel like there was a point in your life where you were only doing bad or harm or you were hurting people around you or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're irredeemable. It doesn't mean that there's no good in you. It doesn't mean that you can't make something of yourself and turn that around. um and
Exactly.
I also think I just like watching her going through the stages of grief too. I like finally seeing her
Oh yeah.
take that in. Like she literally does. Like she goes through full bore denial to the point to where she has to storm the fucking like building where the shitty brother is at. And like literally like a guard's like, whoa, you can't go in there. And she's like, I'm gonna go in there. And he's like, whoa, no. And he like makes a move and she just fucking judo throws him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then the brother comes out and he's like, whoa,
like,
stop. We don't want anybody dead.
Yeah,
He's
no, like one other guard's like, hey, what do you want to do? And he's like, stay where you are unless you want to die.
Yeah.
And then he looks at her and he does his thing where he's just trying to be condescending again, and he's like, once a weapon, always a weapon.
Yeah. But I like that. Even I like that. Like when she asks him and he tells her and he's like, wait, they didn't tell you? And even he has a moment of like, oh shit, that's bad. Like even he has like a slight tick for a second where he kind of like gets a little human and then he just goes back to being a dick. But like,
and then he goes back because then he's like, how dare you, this thing, feel sad about my brother's death?
He can't believe it. He can't believe it. But it's right in front of him, so it affects him to a point where he's like, it gets to him. And then of course, how does he react? He just reacts out in anger because he's like, no, it can't be like that.
Yeah.
But I just seeing that part and then seeing her just like sitting in her room and she doesn't want to do anything, doesn't want to talk to anybody, and she gets angry, but then she can't, like, she doesn't want to let it all out. Like she almost does, and then she reels it back in, and she doesn't know what to do. There's so much like confusion and pain, and that part again, I think I can relate to so heavy. I think it's so it's such an immaculate portrayal of grief for someone that you care about so much.
Oh, dude, there's this one scene. I'm not sure if it's in the previous episode or in these last two, but when she's sitting in her bed at night and she's clutching her chest and is just like screaming.
Yeah.
And it's just like crying out to somebody who's not there and just asking questions and just violently crying to herself. That was a scene that I was like, shit.
How many nights have you had like that?
Oh man,
I know.
That was one that got to me.
Yeah,
man.
And don't forget, she's clutching her heart where the brooch is because he is her heart. Yeah, but
it really got deep into it,
and we got basically the full backstory as well. We got the full flashback
of her experiences with him,
and how
since the brooch came up. Can I just real quick say that the brooch does not? I really like these next two episodes, but the brooch does not work for me. Really, it just didn't work for me
as
because
like
I don't.
Symbol?
Well, it's a cool It's cool, and I like the symbolism of it. But she is such a non-materialistic person.
But it's
that I have a hard time believing that she would really value this material thing.
But it was given to her by the Major.
And she said he was like, why did you like that one? It doesn't match your eyes. And she's like,
right. That's the part that's the part I didn't like. I don't think that she would have picked it out. I don't think that she would have gone up and said to the major, "I want this."
She didn't.
I think
that's the thing.
Well,
like,
I mean, she kind of did. She kind of it was kind of like he bought it for her because she liked it, and I don't think I would have liked it better if he had given it to her as a gift, and then it became like more of an organic, like, this happens to be the color of his eyes. Like, I would have liked that if it wasn't the scene.
I disagree.
Yeah, I also disagree.
Really?
Yeah,
I do.
I just don't see her character. Can you imagine her doing that?
Yes.
Like, imagine her coming up to a stand.
150% I do.
Let me do it. Let me do it, Jacob.
I just don't see
Jacob,
that.
tag me in.
Tag you in.
Tag me in, coach. Tag me in. Okay. So, cause he's like, cause it's Thanksgiving. I'm setting the scene. There's Thanksgiving. There's a tradition where people are giving gifts to people that they're thankful for. And he's teaching her about this. And he's like, well, girls your age usually like this. And she's like, oh, well, like, if you say so, then I guess I'll do that. Yeah, sure. Give me this or this. Dresses and accessories or whatever. And he's like, all right, that's cute, whatever. So now she's like, okay.
I'm going to stop you right there.
What?
Because she wouldn't say that. She would not. She would never say.
She said it because the fucking.
She would never say
shut the fuck
that
up.
she wants these material things.
She didn't say it like that. She said she wanted dresses and accessories because the major said that's what girls like. And she's like, okay, get me that then, I guess. She does.
Yeah.
Because,
but she wouldn't say that.
No,
she wouldn't.
Because she
thinks of herself as a soldier, and they're not essential.
Orders, dude. She's following his orders because he said he's going to get her a gift. So she's going to take a gift.
And I get why they did it.
And that part's not even the point. The point is,
it didn't work for me.
The first time that he grabs her and she opens up her eyes to look at him, the first thing she sees is his eyes. That's the point.
True.
That's where it began. And that's how it all culminates. And then she sees it, and she's like, "It's your eyes," because that's the connection of where the care started. It's symbolically. Fuck.
There's just a lot. There's just a lot of better ways it could happen.
Right, like how they did it.
Okay.
Oh my
I think
God.
it's great that
I give it a C.
So different things.
Fucking C.
Oh man.
Dude.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Dude.
Okay. But moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, ding, 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 round's over. Okay. After that, we get a little bit more visuals of her going, and she goes back to the place where they had the last battle.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. We got to see the full flashback of, like, her past military experiences and stuff, and just how much of a little assassin she was.
Which by the way, now I'm starting to think that I like completely just like misremembered the whole thing about her being from like a village or something that he found. Because now I'm just confused. Like actually, like now I'm thinking that like they must have picked her. I mean, she doesn't even remember her parents' faces. Then it must have been like really young, or something.
Yeah, no,
or
she was like abducted.
Yeah, something.
Like yeah. She was like a child who was like bred to, like, not bred to be a soldier, but like straight up like a Black Widow situation.
Right.
Like I'm under the impression that she was like went to some military school.
I think Gamora would be a better. I'm just giving you shit.
Oh God!
You know what I was just thinking of though. What that fucking argument just reminded me of. Have you guys ever seen the fucking video where the guys are arguing about Wizard of Oz, and the dude's like,
what?
"She's the Wicked Witch of the East, bro. Grow up."
Oh yeah.
That video. That's immediately what I was just thinking of, and I was laughing to myself at how fucking ridiculous
she comes
this was.
in a bubble.
She comes in a bubble, bro.
If we ever watch, I haven't been able to really track it down, but there's rumor of an X-Men anime. If we ever watch that, I'm gonna be excited.
I want you to.
There's an old cartoon that I used to watch.
Ethan, I just want you.
Yeah, evidently there's.
I just want you to know that I know for a fact that I'm like putting you through the fucking ringer on this series, and I want you to do it back to me at some point because I really deserve it. Like,
I feel like I'm holding up my end, dude.
Like,
I'm in my corner.
That's great. Okay, so
I got the towel on right now, baby.
Oh
I'm just icing my wounds.
Joe, stop.
I'm ready for that bell.
Listen, dog.
Right,
Listen,
okay.
Ding, ding, I'm back.
Listen, dog.
Right,
Joe stopped
fighters
us.
in your
Joe stopped us after round 1, and I could keep going, but I won't.
Listen, I don't. This is a beautiful show. We all have already said that we are loving the direction of it.
Yes.
Let's keep on that happy train, y'all.
I'm a very happy person, Joe. What do you mean?
Shut up.
But yeah, no, yeah. So we get the full flashback of the battle and everything, and it's I just love the distinct difference in how horrifying it is. And it's just so visceral, and it's very obvious.
Everything's so dark.
It's so dark, and it's so obvious, like how much she progressed because of the Major.
Yeah.
Like she
suddenly in like a DC movie.
Yeah, dude, for real. Like some of the fucking shit she did, where she started doing like crazy ass like fucking crazy like leg takedowns and like fucking air knife slashes and shit. It's like, damn.
And just think about. So she's 14 in the show that we know her as right now.
Right. So
back then she was like
12,
under 10 at least. I think like
something like that. I don't know.
Well, I guess
probably
if she was
not
actively
10.
Fighting the war.
Well, yeah, because you gotta remember that
nah.
she lost her arms in that battle, so she's probably like 12 or 13. I would think.
She was probably like a teenager by then.
Which what were you guys doing at 13? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Dude.
She's out here doing some crazy
kicking
shit.
ass and taking names.
Let's not speak about what I was doing when I was 13.
I was out in the pitch.
Oh my god.
Kicking balls.
Kicking balls.
Oh my god.
All right. Anyway.
Soccer balls.
But the thing that really got me was when she was like replaying the point of the explosion and stuff.
Yeah.
And like when she's reimagining the Major's last words and like the blood is pouring out over the body and stuff, like in her imagination.
Oh, you mean the nightmare she had? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was wild to me. But then also, like when we were actually seeing her lose her arms and stuff, and how slowly. Like, okay, this was one thing that I didn't like how she lost. She got shot once.
And then
in
her
the
arm fell off.
And her arm fell off.
Yeah, it was a little bit like, I mean, maybe that's just something that we don't know about fucking history. Maybe like the types of bullets that they were using in World War I were able to delimb if you shot it in the right way. I don't fucking know. But it sure doesn't seem very realistic.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
It sure doesn't seem.
And then, and she got hit with the grenade, and then 2 minutes later, her arm slowly fell off. Which that's not.
Which also like I will just throw out, like, grenades don't work like that. That is a weird misconception.
Yeah,
that is a very weird misconception that is like very, very much like played in all entertainment, where grenades are like these big ass crazy ass explosions, when literally a grenade has a small explosive that's supposed to fire shrapnel. So.
Well, I'm pretty sure they were also firing muskets that were like pump action for some reason. So
were they?
Yeah,
I can't remember. No. Those weren't muskets though. That's like a World War I gun. That's like a. It looks like an M1 Garand, like a where you like put the fucking take a clip and you shove the bullets in the top. I only know this because I used to play Battlefield 1943 a lot.
I was gonna say, I was like,
which by the way is a World War II gun, and I'm fucking stupid. So,
well, yeah, who knows what these are? Because they had bayonets on them, right?
Yeah,
they had bayonets too.
Which M1?
That would have been World War I
and 2. There were still bayonets in 2.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
I know.
Yeah.
Like nothing like.
They had fucking machine guns.
Yeah, nothing like.
That's why there was
fucking,
such easy victories at the beginning of the war. It was a whole thing.
Nothing like just being like, oh god, it's a scary ass gun that can kill me. Oh no, there's a knife on the top of the gun.
Because wasn't correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know if you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Germany develop the first machine gun? The Gatling?
Yes.
Or something like that?
I think it was technically just called a turret gun at that point because it was so fucking big they could only have it in turrets.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that.
But like that was one of the things that gave them such an edge. I think when 100%. They were first starting to conquer.
But
everything
beyond World War I history, anime.
but yeah, so there was a lot of cool scenes where I felt like we actually saw Violet grow.
Right. You got the grasp of
and
like
understand more.
We got exactly what we wanted. We got that backstory filled in.
Right. You got to understand.
You got to see the major.
Yeah.
You got to see the Lieutenant Colonel's whole deal.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I love how humble his story is, where he's like, yeah, we just won victories where we didn't even have to fight, and I got this promotion, which really explains his demeanor now, where he's still, like, I don't see him as...
He doesn't feel deserved. Like, he still doesn't feel deserved about running his company.
He still feels like he has a lot to prove to himself.
Right. Yeah, he's a really cool character for really not being, like, in like, a bunch of scenes, but he's so important to the story. And I totally agree. It's very cool. I mean, guys, where are y'all at now? Now that I would say through probably I'm assuming the best portion, because I have a hard time remembering what comes next. But obviously this is where, like, you hit like we definitely hit a climax with her recognizing the Major's death. So where are you guys at? Oh, and then I'm sorry. And then ultimately realizing that she's found love in other people and she's found her own independence and can move forward. That was obviously how that ended as well.
Yeah. I think
because the other dolls like send her the letter and like showing that they care about her, and she like was able to
and she got her first letter that she ever received.
Right, and she's able to like grasp, maybe I can move forward and there are people that care about me and I can
and I think she understood the one of the oldest, well, not one of the oldest, but some advice that I hear a lot in multiple fields, and I'll share it in multiple fields, is like in teaching, for instance, the best way to learn something and solidify something in your head is to teach somebody else. And in therapy, some of the best ways to get over things yourself is to help somebody else through their problems.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of the lesson that she learned. She's understanding the importance of helping other people.
Right.
Which is just so important.
And feeling like she's a part of a community, and
yes,
getting that warm feeling that there's people that have her back, but also rely on her.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah. What you got, Joe?
I before we started recording, I knew that I had gone up because I think I said I was at a B- before.
Yeah.
If memory serves.
I believe that is correct.
And I was thinking before I finished the last episode in this section and stuff, I was thinking I was gonna say a B+ and stuff, but after talking with you guys and just seeing how excited I am and how important I am saying that all these messages and stuff are, I think that this is a show that I would recommend to people, and so I think I gotta put it as, I'm gonna say an A- right now, just because you never know how something's gonna end.
That's very true. Very true.
So I'm gonna be conservative because I'm still trying to keep myself to my thing of not giving too much too early, and so I'm gonna say I'm gonna A-. I think that this show has a lot of deep underlying meanings and underlying messages that I think are very important for people to see and hear and understand. And I think the anime and this show does a very good job of portraying those things sometimes. So I'm gonna say an A- because I do think that there's a good chunk of people, if I have conversations with them or whatnot, and I think that they could benefit from it, that I would definitely recommend this show for those reasons. A- is where I'm at.
Sweet. Ethan?
I think that these 4 episodes have checked a lot of boxes for me as far as what I was hoping for, and just really like anticipating seeing Violet grow the way that she did, seeing that formula that I talked about in the first episode really broken in interesting ways, even some of these episodes just being backstory was, I think they earned that. I think that it came at the correct time. It didn't feel cheap to me. It didn't feel like, I felt like I understand where Violet was at enough in current day that seeing the past was interesting and I was engaged the whole time, and it wasn't the kind of thing where like they tried to make her out to be this kind of war hero, which I think that she could easily be perceived as, where they kind of just made her more of just like, in her, and especially in her eyes, she's no war hero. She's just someone who followed orders, and like the killing was, I mean, obviously she had some kind of skill there, but I think that was just because she showed up every day at the range, and she, absorbed all this information, and like she was just like the practice student,
right?
And not necessarily like just innately good at killing or anything like that. Where I think a lot of animes would just be like, she's the best shot. She is this like, whatever. They would have shown
she's not Kirito from
the
Sword
first
Art.
time she picks up a gun, she can hit every target on the range. Like,
right.
Yeah.
None of that bullshit happened, and I'm so thankful that none of that bullshit happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that this is doing a lot of things right. Not many things wrong at all. I think all the things that we've complained about have been extremely nitpicky, and I think the only thing that still drags this for me is I have no idea what the end goal is. I don't think that I'm supposed to know what the end goal is.
Yeah.
I don't know where I want Violet. I don't want Violet to be just, another girl at this office who kind of just, she's like suddenly fits in and feels like she's like part of the gang. I think I said something similar last time.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think that would be a happy ending for anybody. And because of that, I'm not gonna just like shoot for the stars here. So I think I was at a C before. I think I'm at a B- now. Yeah, I don't have much more to say than that.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
I mean, I if the show ended right here, I would be like over the fucking moon as far as like where I'm at this stage. Like I just love this show all the way through. I already talked about it before. I went high at the beginning and I'm staying high. I think I said an A- and I'm at an A+, and I just love this show. I'm I don't think I'll ever give an S until like a show is over, because I think slapping an S on something is like too intense for like something that you haven't even finished yet. But I do love this show a lot, and I'm curious to see if, because again, I'm really struggling to remember these last four, and I'm wondering if that is to a detriment, and maybe that's why I didn't remember them. Like maybe they're not like maybe it was like not
Parasite.
maybe it was like no, not like Parasite, like not like kind of disappointing, but like maybe they're just kind of status quo and they just come off a little dull and like compared to where we just stopped here. Maybe that's what happened. So I'm curious to see, because I honestly can't remember, but I do know that on my list right now it's set at an A+, not an S. And considering how much I've been fucking going nuts over the show, I'm kind of curious why that was how it was in my head. So yeah, I'm at an A+, and I'm curious to see if it'll stay there or if it might shift because of how this last section goes. Because I will give you those points, Ethan. It is interesting to, I would like, if I was in your guys' position seeing this for the first time, I would also just be like, okay, cool, but how the fuck do you make 4 more episodes now? Because it does kind of feel like the big issue was resolved. So I'm curious to see where it progresses.
We've tied a lot of the knots.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's A+. I'm happy that we're having a really good time with the show, and I'm just gonna get overly upset at nothing as soon as someone says something bad, because it's my baby.
It's my baby.
But
next week we're breaking it up.
Yes. Okay. So
what are we doing?
So of course, as we have been doing, we like to break up our mainstay episodes with a little movie part of a series that we call Winner Winner Chicken Dinner, because the only person that chooses the movie every single time is the winner of the Chooserama. So I won this time. So I got to choose a movie, but things get even more exciting, guys. It doesn't even stop there. Because
Sunday.
Because
but wait,
now.
There's more.
Wait, there's more. As you know, we had a very fun collaborative episode for Robot Carnival with the boys from Smashing Theory. And I think we had a great time with that. And, we're always open to collaborations going forward, if we can put something together with like-minded people. So, in celebration of women in anime, whether it be female-led shows or women creating anime, the movie that we are doing is A Silent Voice, which is female directed. And on top of that, we are doing another collaboration episode with Claire and Mariah from the brand new anime podcast, Anime Starter Pack.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. We're happy to have them on. I think we're all very curious to see how the different takes are going to go, because as far as we understand, they are not the most avid anime watchers, or they're still starting off, and I'm just curious to see what the different perspectives are going to be, because obviously we're so deep into the shit that I feel like a more outside perspective would be very fun to see. So
yeah, but I also think we'll vibe with them pretty well, because I know in their first episode they talk about being like, hey, if you're an anime pro, if you know everybody's names and stuff, maybe this isn't the place for you, because they're like, we're gonna say, oh, that redhead dude and stuff like that.
And if there's one thing that we have consistently done in basically every fucking series, it's utterly forget characters' names as we're going.
Right?
Just never ending.
Yeah.
Oh man.
As soon as I listened to that point in their podcast, I was like, oh, we're gonna get along with these guys.
Yeah.
This is gonna be great.
So yeah, I hope y'all are excited for that. I know we are.
Also, we'll be watching the first episode of Fruit Basket, which is the show that these girls have been doing on Anime Starter Pack. I think the first 3 episodes are only 3 that are out so far, 3 or 4.
Oh no, they've been
doing.
They got up to 7.
They got up to 7. They've been uploading like crazy, actually. So
yeah.
Well, fuck me. Anyway,
rocking and rolling.
They've been watching through the second season of Fruit Basket. I personally have never seen Fruit Basket.
Me neither.
I watched the original one a long time ago, but I have not seen the remake, and I forget all of it. So, yeah.
Well, they seem to have real love for it. We're trying to tie in their podcast a little bit, just like we did the DLC predictions for Smashing Theory.
Right.
Yes.
So I think the first, 10, 15 minutes of the next episode, we'll be spending a little time discussing that.
Sweet.
Before we get into the movie.
All right. Fantastic. So, if y'all want to follow us and keep up to date with our podcasts, go to Devil Fruit on Spotify, man. And you know what?
Well, you're probably already here, but yes.
Right. But if you're just
subscribe.
If you're just coming by, just follow us on there and get that listener retention up. Try to get through the whole episode, guys. Come on. I know I'm really loud and obnoxious out the gate, and sometimes that's scary, but just you gotta see it through. Gotta see it through. And if you want to comment on how scary my voice is, please go to Devil Fruit Corp on Twitter and leave a comment going, wow, why is Jacob's voice so scary? And I will reply with, I'm born this way. And then, we also have a Facebook page now, so you could also do it over there if you're a boomer. And then, if you want to follow us on our regular social medias, you'll just
write a letter.
Write a fucking letter. Write a fucking letter.
Write a letter from Romania. We have a new listener from Romania this week.
Romania!
Hey, you Romanian, you write a letter.
And all the love to all the people from all the.
It's not gonna take us long before we have the whole map covered.
Yeah,
Devil fruit is coming.
We've really been doing a great job at advertising to everyone that's not in the United States. That's really what's been going on. It seems, which is it's great. I all the people from Mexico. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you keep around and have a good time. There you go. Talk to y'all later.
Have a good one. Stay happy. Write a letter to a loved one. Bye-bye.